Add to stage.
There you go.
Add to stage.
All right, you get that. All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, so now how do I get us on the screen here?
Well, it should be recording, right?
It's recording with us at the bottom here. Present. Present. Share screen. Slides. Add stage. This is so.
You're in the show. That's what it says.
Okay, we're ready to go. Thank God. 5 minutes later. Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay.
Technical difficulties. That's how that should
Yeah.
go.
Seriously. Now, what do they mirror this thing? I don't know. Okay. All right. So, taking it from the top, it's a pleasure. I cannot wait to meet you in person. Um, I thank you. I got to thank you because I think I know how you feel. I think in 2018 and 2019 and beginning of 2020, I was in your position. I felt like I was the only man left with any sensibility, with any courage to get in these guys' faces and tell them what what's going on is wrong. Um, I regret that sometimes my anger and my hostility got in the way of my message. And I know that my message was strong and clear, and that's why the FBI worked so hard to take me down. And from knowing that the FBI worked hard to take me down and knowing their discovery and presenting to me how much they actually followed me, I can definitely assure you that you yourself are being followed around by the FBI.
I wouldn't put it past them. I'm having some lawfare waged against me currently. So I know. Believe me, I know. I have my picture at the front desk of Borough Hall. Even though DCAS is on my side, and even though I go in there to file FOIL requests, because that's all I really do. I go to the public servant's office. I do First Amendment audits. I file FOIL requests, and I try to find the information. I just filed a FOIL request because DCAS told me one day that the Queensborough President's Office called the DA, Melinda Katz's office, to get an order of protection on me. They couldn't do it because I didn't actually do anything because I always follow, I'm always in public property. I don't enter restricted areas. I know my rights, but I'm an angry constituent. Like I let them know, what it is that I'm doing. They went as far as when I was running against Gennaro for city council in District 24. I soon found out that Gennaro was the first one to bring the migrants to the district. He made a deal on Hillside Avenue on 164th Street. When I went and I confronted Gennaro, he called me a white supremacist. So I told him, I'll show you what the fuck a white supremacist is. Can fucking come outside. And then he also tried to file an order of protection on me, and he got a police escort everywhere he went just to mess with me. I went
Well,
down.
why do you think? Why do you think he called you a white supremacist?
Because that's just what Democrats do. That's their MO. They were trying to call
What do
me.
you think is more white supremacist to force migrate and completely extort a whole population of helpless migrants, or be an American who's upset that these people are not only extorting the migrants, but they're going to take from us to extort the migrants?
Well, again, it's a human trafficking operation. Human trafficking is defined as the exploitation of labor and sex. And that's exactly what's happening right now. They're bringing these people in for cheap labor, and Roosevelt Avenue and lots of other places are full of prostitution. So, I crash press conferences, and I make signs calling Mayor Adams the largest human child trafficker of all time, because that's what they are. They're child traffickers, all of them, whether they want to admit it or not. But that's what they're doing. There's the hundreds of thousands of missing children. All the hotels are filled with minors that who knows if they're with their parents. We don't know who they're with. They've usurped the First Amendment by claiming public property as private. They have security that is, running interference, and they have the National Guard, which is now also in the subway systems, in the complete violation of posse comitatus and the Fourth Amendment. They are literally just going after our rights. They're just coming after us in the open. And the problem is that the population has no education, because it's a demoralization communist agenda to infiltrate the education system, so that we are all dumbed down to the point where you can have a situation and call it out to them, and no matter what you say, they can't see it. They can't function.
Okay, so I get that. I mean, it's obvious. It's not even worth explaining that basically they are trying to just tear the heart out of this country and demoralize us all, so we think that we have nothing to fight for. But what is anecdotal to that? I mean, what you're doing every day, getting out there and fighting, is one of the first steps. What can we do that's anecdotal to what they're doing? Like, first of all, like you bring up Roosevelt Avenue. How long have you been living in Queens for?
My whole life.
Your whole life. So about how old are you?
45.
So 45. Um, I don't think I think Roosevelt Avenue is one of those places in the city where you either know it or you don't.
But there's always been prostitution there. Doesn't matter.
Always.
But now it's just everywhere, and it's out in the open, and they're on the streets. It used to just be the Chinese, or it used to just be where you would walk the streets and the guys would be like chica 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 chica, and that's when you would know to go and talk to them, and they'll bring you to the brothels. But now they're just all out, like everywhere. Even to the point where the Chinese are now working with the Spanish girls, which I've never seen before. The Chinese and the Spanish girls are now sharing the brothels, because Mayor Adams tried to do a show of force, and he's got police up and down Roosevelt Avenue, but nothing's changed, because we still have a Fourth Amendment. We still have a First Amendment, so the police can't just round up people for standing outside.
So for people that are watching this, Roosevelt Avenue is in Jackson Heights, Queens, which is part of AOC's district, and it's like right in the smack dab middle of Queens. So from the city, you can hit the Queensboro Bridge. It's right off the BQE. It's right off the LIE. It's right off the Grand Central. Any of the other bridges, the Van Wyck. It's a really easy spot to hit Roosevelt Avenue right off any highway. And for years, long before the internet, it's been a place like a Hunts Point where prostitution has been done for a long time. And I don't think, uh, and that was part of AOC's platform, is she wanted sex work to be legal. They really wanted to attack loitering to no longer be a crime. They really wanted to attack property rights. The problem is when we get to a situation with like Mr. Rinaldi here, who's running for Congress, is the AOC like brings a lot of flavorful topics. But I see Mr. Rinaldi out there really championing for NYCHA and housing in ways that I really haven't seen other politicians before, except maybe ones on the left who scream, "We need affordable housing, we need equity, we need this, we need that." Do you want to explain to us what is happening in NYCHA?
From what I can understand, okay, there's two. There's Section 9, right? Section 9 is about home ownership, right? That's what it is. It's rights. When when you're on Section 9, you get your apartment. You can pass it down from generation to generation. It's for life. That's why there's generations in the projects, right? And what's happening now is that NYCHA only has maintenance people. The buildings have been there in disarray for years and years and years. Everybody knows it. Go to the projects. The elevators are shit. The people there don't take care of it. They don't, like, Co-op City is a different animal. Like, if you give somebody home ownership, like real home ownership, then they'll take care of their property. But the way that the system is run, because it's a bureaucracy, they really don't fix anything because the maintenance people have to take care of it. Now, they don't have a construction division in NYCHA, which I would probably suggest to build some schools within the public housing and then teach the community to be union plumbers, union electricians, and have them fix their own properties and give them their own ownership rights. But what ended up happening is that the migrant situation came where Brad Lander and Mayor Adams struck these ridiculously bad deals with all the hotels, giving them full occupancy at 3 or 4 times the going rate. And the city's bankrupt because it's 30% of the budget. And that goes with another plan. I'm not going to touch on that now. I can come back to it. But now the city is bankrupt, and now the city wants the federal government to step in and help with the migrants. But the federal government is like, nah, we're not doing that. Kick rocks. So they came up with the scheme called PACT and RAD, which basically means that they're going to put everyone on Section 8. And Section 8 is 1 to 20 years. It's not for life. You also have to pay your own utilities. You also, through the city of Yes, which Mayor Adams is trying to do because there's a huge housing shortage. And the upzoning. So what they want to do is they want to basically rent out people's illegal apartments. They want to let you have rooming houses, because that's how, people that come here, illegals, live. It's just the way it is. You get one family and they got 50 people living in their house and they chop it up and they make rooms everywhere. They want to make that legal. And then the federal government would come in and give them the vouchers so that they can pay for, the illegals, a homeowner or something to get money to house illegals. But the problem is that there's no oversight. It's full of corruption. There's ways for it to be, abused, just like the debit cards they want to give. There's no way to track any of this stuff. So it's a complete robbery of our social services and the city's budget because they're all just getting kickbacks. The Hotel Association, which is like so happy with Mayor Adams because they gave him all this money. So basically what's happening is that they want to do like revitalization and rebuild these mixed use homes and all of these things and affordable housing. But the only way to do that is you got to kick everybody out of the buildings because they're protected under Section 9. The only way to kick them out is to offer them a Section 8 waiver and then put them in a different place. They're going to go in, demolish the buildings because the property value is way higher than what they're getting right now. So it's just a greedy little thing.
And the buildings are not green. They have high carbon footprint.
Right.
They have lead, blah, blah, blah.
Right. So they want to demolish the buildings and build new ones. However, even the Tenants Association presidents and all these people are being promised brand new apartments, so they're going along with this. But you and I both know, and once these buildings are built and the Section 8 waivers get put out, the people that took the Section 8 and now want to move back to the community, they're not going to be given the applications. They don't get processed. It's just bureaucracy. So they're literally trying to kick the Black and the Spanish people out of the projects to fix it up. And they think that they're going to get back in there, and they're not. That's just the reality of it.
Here's here's what I do know. I do know that when I was running for state senate a couple years back, there's the Williamsburg houses. Um, I forget the names. Something White houses along Kent. A lot of Hasidics live in them. And then there's the Williamsburg houses. So the Williams houses, the White houses, and the Williamsburg houses. We went through the Williams houses. They just been taken over by Section 8. Everybody in that building was put on Section 9. They were already within the first year getting their incomes audited heavier than any other person. And yes, they were on a chopping block. They were no longer able to live there for life. Um,
Yeah, but they're also their cost of living goes up because it's all based on market rate rent. Like Section 8 only covers certain price and you got to pay the rest. So like if I'm a private investor and I go in there and I fix up the buildings and I want to charge, $3,200 in rent, Section 8 is only going to give you 1,800, whatever it is. You're going to have to come up with the rest. So they're basically going to put the cost on the backs of the low income families to fix these buildings and then give it away to foreign nationals. That's just the plan. Like they basically have the black vote. They've had the black vote, and they need the new voting bloc, which is the illegals. And they're and the black people and the Spanish people, they got to wake up because they're going to be, they're just going to be thrown onto the street and they don't realize it. They don't see it yet. What they do see is the illegals with full shopping carts, with the EBT cards and the debit cards. They do see that. They do see the illegals getting to punch cops in the face and not getting charged, right? When back in the day, when you and I did something, they would throw us in jail for years and years and years. But people have short memories. So there's two systems of justice right now, and they're, in for all intents and purposes, I went to City College, so I know Cloward and Piven. Cloward and Piven is the strategy to overload the welfare system so that they can crash the budget to bring us into socialism. That is the vehicle in which they are going to bring us into socialism, and that's what they're doing. And then once they build all these affordable housing, as they call it, nobody's going to be able to afford the rent. Everyone's going to be in disarray, and then the government's going to come in as a big daddy savior, and they're going to give everyone checks, and
okay.
then us on the total.
Here's where like you're the one of the few people I get out to reach to. Cloward Piven strategy is very real. If you're paying attention, it's obviously real. If you don't know what it is, basically it's what's been happening ever since Johnson killed Kennedy. Okay, wake up. And Cloward Piven strategy is basically the inner cities are bankrupting the whole entire country over and bringing us to a universal income, right? But we're sitting there and we're bracing ourselves for this and we're waiting for the landing and we're not coming up with solutions that the people on the projects would pay attention to, right? Like, why would they take our vote? Why would they take our vote now? And like what people do know is they have seen in the 90s a lot of buildings go from Section 8 to condos. They have seen Co-op City. They have seen some buildings that use a Mitchell Lama example. What can we do to turn things around? Because, in my opinion, with housing, the only way we're going to get out of this housing crisis altogether is through ownership.
Yeah, it's through ownership. That's 100% right. But again, like it's an all-encompassing attack on us, right? It's through social media, it's through the music, it's through the media, it's through the television, right? If you can educate yourself to the symbology, right? Because symbols are there to conceal, but they're also there to reveal. They have to tell it to you. They have to tell you what they're doing, but they tell it to you in a way where you cannot understand it or comprehend it because they're telling it to you in codes. So it just comes down to education. It comes down to getting people to understand what they're doing. But it's gotten to the point where the miseducation through the schools, through the rap music, like if you are a kid and you're growing up listening to rap music, which is terrible, which is completely terrible.
Why?
The message, because what is it? What does it tell you? Like, what is it that rap music talks about? Like the denigration of the woman. It talks about drug dealing, glorification of all these things. The actual frequency of the music is also in a way where it's supposed to, it's not like the 440 hertz. It's not like the angelic, uplifting frequency like you would hear in a church that's designed to like uplift the vibrations. These are all low vibration situations. Plus with the processed foods, you grow up eating like Doritos and quarter waters, and biologically it's not going to develop your brain. Like it's a complete all-out attack. So a lot of things have to change. Like we have to change the diets, we have to change the messaging in the music, in on the television, right? I mean, but the schools don't teach them anything, right? You go to school, where are the trade schools, right? How come we don't teach them any trades anymore? What are we teaching them in school? Nothing. The schools are overcrowded. You can't even you can't even get an education.
Well, they teach Marxism in school.
They do. That
they really do.
Yeah, and that's a plan that they are that they're going through. It's a plan, and people have to awaken to it. But like I said, the truth is something that you have to want to know. Like it's not something that you can tell anybody. That's really the issue. Like the truth only can be reached by somebody that wants to know it. Like I can't go up to somebody and download all this information. They're not going to receive it, So that's why there's so few of us, because it's like Plato's cave, the allegory of the cave. Once you see, you can't unsee. But most people are still stuck in that cave, and their heads are strapped to that wall, and we can't break the chains to take them outside. And we can't wake them up, and it's not something that we can do. They have to do it themselves.
Okay. So I got a couple questions. You're living in Queens. Are you in AOC's district?
No, but you're not supposed to. You don't have to be in someone's district to run for Congress.
I get it. You can live anywhere in New York State.
You can live wherever.
She lived in Westchester. We're not. This is not a personal attack.
Yeah.
Who is your present congressman or woman?
Christmann.
Christmann.
Who knows me
What
very
do you think
well.
of her?
Listen, the Democratic Party are in lockstep with the message. There is nobody in the Democratic Party that is not full on message. So they don't think for themselves. They do what they're told. The policies that they all follow are all. I'm going to say something that is very controversial, but the reality of it is that right now in leadership throughout our country and in city council and everywhere else is all women. Women are emotionally based. They're not men. Like, it's a different type of leadership. It's a different type of situation. I love women. I have nothing against them at all. But unfortunately,
they are hypergamous and will go to the highest bidder a lot faster than men will.
Yeah, and so what we're dealing with is an emotional based society where everything is based on emotion. Like, for example, they're like, oh, we have to take care of the migrants. And on its face, yes, we should take care of people, but not when there's a line with millions and millions of people coming over here. It's not possible. So there is a difference between like logic and emotion. And that's where we're at this point. Like everything is emotionally based. It's from calling some, people are afraid to be called racist. People don't want to be homophobic, this, that, and the other thing. So,
Catcalling. They don't want to get caught catcalling.
right. So this is the result.
So would you support Tom Schmidt against Grace Manning?
I would support anyone over one of these Democrats, 100%. And look, everybody.
Are you not running for Congress in your own districts because Tom Schmidt almost beat Grace Manning?
I'm running in a versus AOC because, in terms of what I've been able to do with the media, with the exposure that I've gotten, I felt that the best political move for myself, because of the way that I do things, is better suited for sensational media.
Okay. So what do you think is going to separate? What separates you as a candidate from like John Cummings or Tina Forte?
I think I have a better grasp on policy. I know how government is constructed. I'm more educated and intelligent on the issues. Tina is just as sensational as I am, but if you really look, right, I had an issue. Look, the Conservative Party. I have my own skeletons in my closet. Okay, I'm not perfect. Okay, but when the Conservative Party didn't endorse me, they claimed that they didn't endorse me because of certain things that I might have said or might have did, right? But if you look at the candidates that they do endorse, right,
Cops.
it seems like they only endorse candidates that are blackmailable. And what I mean by that is that if you really look at what it is, if you really look at who they are, who they're with, and what their actual history is with the people that they're connected to, all that stuff is blackmailable. Okay, it's just the reality of it.
And what I found is the Bronx Conservative Party is a very, very influential branch, and they actually have a little bit of clout. Not only do they have a little bit of clout, but they have very strong connections to the PBA. So they're very, very cop friendly, which is a mistake for us. I really think that we got to support the police, but we can't be an authoritarian crap hole either.
Listen, the rank and file police officers are wonderful. Okay, the problem is that when the mayor of New York is really the commissioner in all intents and purposes, and they're going to do what they're told. They're going to do what the lieutenants tell them. They're going to do what the captains tell them. And I'm all for the police because we need police for society. But the power dynamic, I think the real issue is that we don't have an elected sheriff. Our sheriffs are appointed. So there's no check to the power structure of law enforcement. Like, we're supposed to have a constitutional sheriff that's going to step in when necessary, when law enforcement violates their oath. And it seems like the oath means nothing to anyone anymore.
Nothing.
And that's really what the issue is.
Nothing. When they arrested us at City Hall on sidewalks with signs protesting us, right there on May 9th, long before George Floyd, we knew we were in for it. I don't know if you remember those days, but one thing I don't know, I haven't fact checked it. I heard it through the grapevine. This is actually pretty important. John Cummings says that he raised, I heard, $9 million for his campaign. Is that true?
Look, I don't know what these people are raising, because to get a job that pays you $150,000 a year, to spend $9 to $20 million on a seat like that, it's a big problem. How does that make any financial or mathematical sense? Like, what are you spending all that money on? For what? What are you getting?
Do you know how much Tina Forte was able to raise?
I mean, I think from last time she raised like $800 or $1 million or something like that. I don't know. But the thing with fundraising, there's no matching funds in Congress, right? So I don't know what the accounting is. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can raise as much money as you want, and you could just walk home with it, you know. So it basically it seems to me that the only people that the GOP or anyone will endorse are the largest fundraisers, because when you're a district leader or when you're at the party meetings, you're there because you want to get work. You want to get work at the board of elections. You want to get
Well, look at what happened to Santos, right? Santos lied on a form and said he had over $250,000 raised. The GOP came in there and was like, "Oh wow, you're actually worth something." Did what they had to do, actually got him elected. And then you got a guy like Tom Schmidt, who's right there neck and neck with Grace Meng, and because he didn't lie on the form and say he had over $250,000, this GOP didn't give them any support. But I really think
let's not forget that the GOP, right? Isn't it Maliotakis the one who went after Santos originally? So they're eating their own. Like, they don't support me. The GOP hates me.
they hate you, yeah, of course, because you're actually out there willing to do dirty work that they're supposed to be doing and not doing. If you look at the zeitgeist of New York City, the three people that run New York City, Republican Party, I would say, are Rudy Giuliani, Curtis Lewa, or the right, and Curtis's boss, John Castimedes. How long have these guys been in power and just watching it all get taken away from us without really helping with the message, without really, like, they're bad leaders. So I wanted to talk to you about YAOC versus Grace Meng, and I'm kind of hopeful for you because I think if you keep doing what you're doing, I think you can raise a lot of money here.
I'm having a big problem. Having a big problem raising money. It's something that is extremely difficult. I make content. I try to reach national audience. I'm doing ad campaigns, but I just can't seem to get really anyone to send me money. There are, fundraisers and things that I would like to do, but I'm just not getting it. Like, I don't understand why that is, but it's not happening, and it's a problem. It's making it very difficult for me. So, I don't know what to say on that, but it's just not something that I've been successful at, quite honestly.
Okay. So once you figure that out, which you will, all right, you will. Don't worry, that'll come, and it'll come when you win the primary, especially. Um, what what would you do about housing right away?
What would I do about housing right away? I would I would turn the maintenance division into more of a construction division, and I would set up the education. I would set up an educational infrastructure so that I would take the kids that are in those public housing, and I would teach them how to have trade schools, how to be, and I want them all union. I think, look, the unions have their issues, but at the end of the day, they have benefits. I am pro-union, okay, over non-union. I would prefer union because there are protections in terms of how many hours you can work, in terms of, your prevailing.
So you would like to see maybe CUNY set up a vocational program and use NYCHA as like a training site for vocational schools, and have people in NYCHA also have access to that training? Something like
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, because you can't keep these people, if you give them no opportunities or no pathway out of the project.
Yeah, it is sick. You can go to vocational school and learn the basics of like electric or HVAC, and they won't give you any college credit for it.
Yeah,
But
and look,
that's crazy.
the only jobs that these people can get are security guards. Okay, security guards make nothing. They don't have any protections. Listen, I just want to set up trade schools specifically inside of public housing, upgrade the maintenance division, unionize the maintenance division if it's not already, and get these kids with an education, like an actual real.
What would you do? What would you do with the migrants?
Here's the thing, right? I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in this country. I think we need to just close the border. We can't round up people. Like, we can't start violating people's rights. They're here. It happened. We just have to give them everybody that's here that's like came illegally. They need to have like a constitutional course that's required. They should all be required for them to get any kind of social services moving forward. They have
We
to
should be
go.
handing out constitutions to them,
Yeah.
I think.
Yes, they need a strict, quick crash course in their constitution, and that's what needs to be taught to them, because they need to really understand that, what it is, where they are, and what the value of where they are is. I don't really want to start messing with people, but we need to educate them. But we need to educate people not with Marxism. We need to educate them with the principles.
Common sense,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Right.
Now, okay. So you would actually be for amnesty for all the migrants that are here right now, and just close the borders and end the nonsense right now, and clean up the mess that we have.
Listen, I don't know. Listen, I'm not sure if I would just. The problem with why they brought the migrants here is because they're here to vote. Okay, so first of all, first and foremost, it would have to be where you could. I would probably try to pass legislation that says that you can't vote unless you've lived here for like a certain number of years, whether it be 12, whatever the case is. But either you're natural born here and you can vote, but if you came here illegally, maybe you can't vote, right? I don't know yet, but I haven't really fleshed that out. But we have to address the voting issue. The reality is that they're here to vote. So look, if they're here, but they can't vote. Okay, and that's going to help, alleviate.
At least for 10 years for them to see how the world works up here a little bit.
Yeah, it's gotta. The first and foremost,
where do you think, in your research of being out there and seeing all these migrants, how many would you guess are in New York City, and where do you think most of them are from?
I would say that there's about 300,000 to 400,000 right now.
300,000 to 400,000.
Yeah, and yes, I would say that that's the real number. And because they'll tell you it's like 1 or 2, which is probably 3, 4, maybe 5, because Biden had flown in 300 that he admitted to, which probably means that they flew in like 1 million, but it's all over the country. So at the end of the day, when you're a migrant, you're going to New York, you're going to LA, you're going to Chicago. There's no place else to go, right? So, I don't know. What was your question again? I'm sorry, I just spazzed out.
Where do you think they're from?
Oh, well, everywhere. They're not just Spanish. They're from everywhere. They're African. They're South American. They're Chinese. They're from everywhere. I mean, if the whole world knows that Mayor Adams is the largest human trafficker and is giving everything for free, so everybody's coming here any way that they can. It's from everywhere.
Would you support New York maintaining, like, personally, I'm mixed on it. How do you feel about New York actually being a sanctuary city?
It's not working. They're using sanctuary cities.
They're abusing it, right?
They're abusing it, so it just needs to stop, because they're abusing it and they're obviously using it as a vehicle to crash the budget, and it needs to end, because it's kind of one of those things, like it's lawfare nonsense, to where like legally it's okay. Like, for example, when they cross the border, they're given like asylum status, they're giving paperwork, so they're technically not illegal, because they're given paperwork, they're given things, so they're technically not, if you go down that route. So they're not stupid, they know how to use the system to their advantage. So unfortunately, the sanctuary city status as it is right now is being abused, and the only way to end it is just to end the sanctuaries. And look, I get it. Like, the sanctuary city status is, originally when it was designed, it was presented to like help people so that you can't be thrown out on the street and things of that sort. So that needs to kind of be reimagined, right? But maybe language needs to be put in there where it's like only for like whatever. Maybe it's only for residents, or maybe it's only for like, hardships have to be proven or something to that effect. But it can't just be open-ended as it is now. It can't remain as it is now.
What is your biggest complaint when it comes to education in the city?
My biggest complaint when it comes to education would be the educators. Let's be clear here, okay? After COVID, right? During COVID, there was a purge. Okay, all of the people that were supposed to were stood up to the oppression were fired. All the religious exemptions, all the people that believed in God, all the people that believed in country were gone. So who's left? The educators that are there now are the problem. And the reason is because they're purged. Right now, it's just leftist Marxists that are teaching our children. And it's interesting because, like I said, they don't teach anything. They don't teach civics. They don't teach the Constitution. They don't teach trades. They don't teach home ec. So where are all these educational classes that are required? All of that is gone. And the only thing that they teach is gender ideology, which is...
Actually, that brings us to another issue. This whole gender stuff. Like, it's like when you see the woman swimming for UPenn, you go, "Oh, come on! Like, how far are you going to push this thing? Like, how obnoxious are you going to get with this?" But also, when I see, January 6th prisoners going to jail for a lifetime, inflation going through the roof, congestion pricing coming to the city, and it seems like the only thing the right in the city is worried about is drag queen story time. It's alarming to me. What's your stance on all this stuff?
It's done on purpose. It's demoralization. It's all it is. Okay, it's a plan to make us into a socialist utopia. I mean, that is what they're doing. Now look, the libertarian in me, I don't mind people doing what they want to do. I would like less government involvement. Like, however, if you don't understand that there's a biological attack on us in terms of the food, right? If you don't understand that there's a weaponization of media, if you don't understand that there's propaganda involved, in all of this, a lot of the... Look, if I smoke cigarettes, I'm going to get cancer, right? If I eat junk food my whole life, my brain's not going to develop. Things are going to happen to me biologically. So unless we start like really addressing that, then it can't just be an emotional reaction. You know what I mean? That's what it is now. Like, nobody is talking about like cause and effect. They're just like, oh, okay, you want to be whatever you want to be. We have to support you 100%. All right, but how did you get like that? How did you end up like that? Right? Like, and then they make it where, like, for me to ask that question makes me a bigot. Like, we're supposed to have children. We're supposed to have a family. That's how these things are supposed to operate. But when you are creating a situation where you are not able to have children, then let's understand why that is. I'm not gonna just, like, it's when my daughter, right? Let's say my daughter comes up to me and she's like, "Dad, I'm lesbian." I'll be like, I don't care. Just have children. Give me some grandkids. Like, I don't care. But if she comes up to me and she's like, "Dad, I want to get a sex change operation," I'm going to be like, "Baby, you're going to be infertile. You're going to have incontinence. You're not going to have any sexual pleasure. Like, it's mutilation." Like, and I understand psychologically, maybe they're at a point where it has to be done. And, you can't just like support people that are in a destructive, path. Like you have to do whatever you want. You want to change your gender. You want to do all that. Fine, but give yourself the opportunity to have children. Don't sterilize yourself.
I totally agree. They should have they should also have daycare set up at Cooney too,
Right.
where girls are going to college are encouraged to have kids. But I got a couple more questions. I hate that transgender rabbit hole. I hate it. I think it's something we should all just stay away from and not even. It's like school shootings. We shouldn't even acknowledge it. Um, what do you think of congestion pricing?
It's a crime. Congestion pricing is a crime against New York, against low-income families. Um, we are carbon-based life forms. We breathe out carbon dioxide.
We'll get into the environment next. What do you think of the late fees on people who run the bridges and stuff like that?
Well, that's
They,
that's the thing. Easy Pass is broken. If like I can have an Easy Pass, I'll drive all over the place. But there's some toll in New Jersey that doesn't pick me up. So I get fined $50. I have fines of thousands and thousands of dollars. It's in collections. And I call them and I'm like, what are you talking about? I have the Easy Pass. Oh, but you didn't, but I got this is good, this is good, this is good, this wasn't good, this. But it's an attack on your credit. Like, do you understand what I mean? Like if you have
without exercising your Seventh Amendment right.
yeah, it's just a complete attack on your credit. There's no accountability, and it's for tracking, it's for control. Tolls were supposed to be put on bridges to help pay for the bridge, but what they don't realize is that they can't pay for anyone's pensions. The city's bankrupt, the state's bankrupt. They can't pay for the pensions. They can't pay for the medical insurance. So they don't want to raise the property taxes because if they do that, everyone's going to go fucking crazy. So let's give the fucking working class a $300-400 a month tax increase to tolls.
A historical tidbit: all those bridges were built in 1909. The Williamsburg Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, and the Queensboro Bridge were all completed in 1909, before there was ever an income tax, and they were always meant to be free.
Right. So now we have tolls, which is just a tax increase because obviously if you're spending 30 or 40% of the budget, you got to make that up. And what's going to end up happening is that the tolls aren't just a tax one time on your working class. They're going to raise the price of food. They're going to raise the price of gas. They're going to raise the price of insurance.
Every time your plumber comes back to a job, he's gonna have to charge you $100 just to drive over the bridge and find a parking spot.
That's correct. And then they sell public property to lift. The city council has sold public property to private companies. Okay.
The Department of Transportation goes around and has 2-hour in-person infomercials so Lyft can make money off a city bike.
That's correct. And all that's happening is that like Danny Harris, right, from Transportation Alternatives, who gets paid, I don't know, 200 grand a year, is hanging out with Lincoln Wrestler every day. And then of course Lincoln Wrestler is going to be out there selling out public property. So I don't know. It's like the corruption is so real, and then the only legislation that happens is through the donors, because the people that are in office are only doing what the donors are telling them to do. And so what I would probably suggest is to, number one, have term limits. Number two, eliminate all funding from not-for-profits. The only funding that any government person can get is from an individual, and it should be capped at like $100. Okay, that's it. Because Congress is supposed to be, remember, Congress is the Senate and House of Representatives. Congress is elected, the House of Representatives is elected every 2 years because it's supposed to be closest to the people. So why don't they just, you only need about 30 grand to run for office, in all honesty, because to get palm cards, to do mailers, and forget the mailers. I mean, you don't necessarily have to mail people shit. You got to go and talk to them. So forget the mailers that cost 40 grand. Forget all that. All you need to do is go and talk to the people. And with social media and with all the other aspects, you don't need millions and millions of dollars, and you shouldn't
And
be
hopefully
allowed.
we get a debate.
Right, and debates need to be mandatory. Okay, if you don't show up at a debate, then you're kicked off the ballot. I mean, these are the
Something
kinds of
needs
things.
a debate, a town hall, something needs to happen because that's crazy. You can't have them. You can't have these politicians run from people. I agree with that. Couple more questions. New York City, as of I believe next year, 2025, and throughout the whole state in 2026, is going to put a ban on all fossil fuels in buildings, and it's going to be electric only for new heating systems and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
wonderful. Do you forget that our dollar is a petrodollar? Does anybody remember that? Because once they do that, then our money will be worth nothing. And then what's going to happen? Like people just why can't they? Why can't we have hybrid? Why can't we have cars that are half electric, half gas? Like why do we have to turn over to something we don't have the infrastructure for? But on top of that, we have a petrodollar. So you turn over to electric, which, mind you, is mined by children in the Congo by their hands. So we're going to base our whole economy and our energy off of child slave labor in Africa. I
and
mean,
rare earth minerals all over the place. Yeah, I know.
it's so absurd. Like it's upside down world, right? So how about no? Okay, how about no? You know that
Well, here's the thing, and this not a lot of people know about this. Do you know about the Micron plant that's going up in Syracuse?
I haven't heard about it. No.
Okay, so remember back in COVID, they were talking about a chip shortage.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, the reason why there was a chip shortage is there was a water shortage in Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
So the Micron plant needs 50 to 100 million gallons of water a day to clean their chips. So
Which is
they moved up to Syracuse and built a pipeline out of Lake Ontario, and this Micron is going to be cleaning their chips.
it's
Not only
wonderful.
that,
Finger Lakes
huh?
are up there. The Finger Lakes
Yeah.
are up there. And yeah, all we need to do is pollute the Finger Lakes. It's a great idea. It's a wonderful
Well,
thing.
guess what's tattooed to Hunter Biden's back?
The Finger Lakes. I know. I know that.
Exactly. So, not only that, but there's a company called Constellation Energy in Oswego that is going to be turning Great Lakes water, nuking it, and turning it into hydrogen.
Listen,
In
I,
Miss,
listen.
what?
I'm not opposed to new nuclear energies and things like that. I mean, we should have an option that's not just electric, but we can't be polluting the upstate New York. I mean, it's the most beautiful place on earth. So let's stay out of it
It's the
completely.
most water abundant place on the face of the planet, and they're going there and they're taking our water for free. I FOIL requested every single one of these agencies. They're taking our water for free and turning it into electric and selling it back to us at like $8 a gallon.
Yeah. Well, what happened to Taiwan's an island? Like, why can't they desalinate the ocean water? I mean, I know that's a technology.
Because the amount of energy it takes to desalinate the ocean water, even the Great Lakes water, they still have to purify that water before they nuke it. To desalinate ocean water, uh, the Great Lakes is really at target here. And when they talk about electric vehicles, that is code word for hydrogen operated vehicles because they do not have the infrastructure to, and they will never be able to get it in time for the cars to run off of real electric vehicles. They're
Yeah. Well,
primed and ready to run off of hydrogen.
I would be the absolute strongest opponent, and I would do everything in my power to save the Finger Lakes region, and I will do everything in my power to kick every single last one of these corporations and companies from touching that water. And that
Thank
is
you.
something that we should protect at all costs. I go camping up in Ithaca. I swim in Skinny Atlas Lake up near Syracuse. I know about Lake Cayuga. I know about Seneca Lake. I love that area. It's the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my entire life, and it should be protected and it should be fought for at all costs.
Well, if I lived in AOC's district, I would definitely vote for you, sir. Um, I'm, it's been nice, a breath of fresh air seeing you out there. Um, I hope to see more of you. Um, you're definitely authentic. You put in the work. Um, and I think right now you just got to trust yourself to just let yourself raise money. You deserve it. You
I know
deserve. You're in it to win it.
petitions,
You're in
man.
it
Like,
to win it, not to raise money. You deserve the money. Go get yourself some money.
I'm
Don't be
trying.
scared to ask for it.
Like,
The
you know,
same fer- the same fervor you say to AOC's bodyguard to get off me and you're not going anywhere is the same fervor you need when you ask for that money. You deserve it. I want you to get it, and I want you to go after this woman because her time is up. Her time is up. She's gonna either have to leave that seat or get bounced out of that seat. She's got too much of a spotlight on her. Her district is too Muslim, has too many issues, is too conservative. Um, she's running out of time, and you might be the guy to do it.
yeah, and you know, I'll tell you, and this is what I realized, you know, going to the Muslim community, right? Is that who do you think is going to be the most opposed to the transgender ideology? Who do you think is going to be the most opposed to a lot of these leftist ideas? It's the Muslims, which is why they make us fight with them so bad. And in all honesty, you know, the Prophet Muhammad said in the end times is when you would have women in leadership. Like it's you know, these, you know, our city is run by individuals who are destroying it, right? So the Muslim community, you know, listen, I get that there are issues, right? I get it, but we're stronger together. And I realize this even in September 11th, like they're making us fight with them. Why are they doing that? They are going to be our strongest, you
Because
know,
they don't believe in credit and usury, and the
right?
New World Order is all about credit and usury.
They're our
So they
strongest
needed to pin us against them.
and I don't want to fight with them at all. You know, and then like when you see the protests, the Palestinian protests that are everywhere, I don't want to fight with them. Like you know, it's like they're like the new BLM or Antifa that they're being used to cause a civil war in New York City. So why don't we join forces and then turn our attention to to the corrupt power structure and stop fighting within ourselves? Like we have to
Yes,
unify.
fight the power process
Yeah,
instead
like
of
I
each
don't.
other.
You think I wanna? It's like a football team at this point. You think I wanna see somebody with a Palestinian scarf, and then I see another Jew, and then I have to pick a side? How about no? How about let's stop? Like you're being used. Like we have to come together and like turn our attention to the corruption. Like turn our attention to where it's needed. I am not looking to fight with my neighbor. I don't want to fight with the people that are marching for things that we are all opposed to. We're all opposed to endless wars. We're all opposed to the wasting of money. I don't want to go and get into a conflict in the Middle East. I don't want to do that because the only if you just look at what happened, because I was running for office, the Israel-Palestine situation happened right at the election. No surprise, right? And now they're using everybody, but see, they messed up because the progressives now are so fueled with fire that they're out there protesting that they forgot that they need those people to go vote and to go get signatures for them. So they overplayed their hand. So it's a big problem. But I am a supporter of both the Jewish and the Muslim communities, and I want them to work together because you know we can't be fighting, or we're going to lose our city.
I will say this about the progressives. In 2018, I filled out a form to run for public advocate. You know, in order for me to be a DSA candidate and debate there, one of the things I had to do was pledge that I was against the Israeli occupation of Palestine.
Wonderful. I mean, it's like, okay, great. You know, the problem that
This is New York. Why does New York have anything to do? Like, why would the progressives of New York and the DSA even ask anybody that question.
I just because they want people fighting with each other. They want a civil war. Okay, they want us all pitted against each other. And can you imagine how strong we would be if we didn't fight with the cops while we fought with each other? Like, can you imagine if we all just stood together and turned our attention to the mayor, turned our attention to the governor, who just now put National Guard troops in the subways, who has, I think it was what that Rule 12 or whatever it is, I can't remember, to force quarantine people. Like, are we like, you know what I mean? Like, we have to refocus our efforts, and I don't want to fight with my neighbor anymore. I don't want to. Like, we have to
Neither
get
do I.
together.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, listen, like I said, unfortunately, Nydia Velasquez is my wonderful congresswoman. What a champion she's been ever since NAFTA destroyed Puerto Rico. That's how long she's been in, 1992. I really think you have a chance. I just think you gotta start demanding money. People don't
Yeah,
want AOC in. People don't want Tina Forte to run again. She's probably gonna. I'm not. Whatever.
she's already
Um,
she's the endorsed candidate by both the Republicans and the conservatives. So there's really not much that I can do on that.
she was right next to Ray Epps holding the flag. Why are they wasting their time?
Because she raised money, and that's all they care about. That's all they care about. And they don't like me because I don't. I'm only interested in the truth, and I don't want to play games with anybody. And that's unfortunately, when you're looking for the truth, it doesn't matter who stands in front of it, whether it's a city council Republican person or whether it's the chair of the GOP, or the corruption needs to stop. It needs to stop. And that's
Even if we do what they did in Greece, right, where everyone just came clean, there was an amnesty, nobody was going to get in trouble. Just let it all out there. It needs to stop. But keep going. Just keep going. It'll something will happen. Something good will happen if you keep going. I promise.
that's all I can do is just keep going. And the hardest part is waking up every day knowing, like, even after work, knowing that I have to go get petitions signed. It's draining. It's brutal. I want to take a break. I can't stop. Like, I have to get up and I gotta just fucking get
You can
out
take
there.
a break after petitions.
Yeah,
You can take a
well,
break. You come get your petitions and come visit me in jail. That'll be your break.
all right. Well, if you know anybody that would like to help me, just send them my way, and I'll do everything that I can, to keep moving forward. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Me too. I'll let you know when it's done.
Okay,
All
later,
right.
bro.